is NBC 10, Live at Issue.
Live at Issue, Sunday, April 19th.
I'm heartbroken and
A federal jury declares 137 times that former Pennsylvania State Senator Vince Fumo is guilty of fraud, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and tax violations. Why did he do it? How did the U.S. government get him? 3 members of the prosecution team join me now on Live at Issue.
Good morning. I'm Steve Highsmith. Vince Fumo was one of the people that average citizens respected. They called him Senator or Sir. Corporations bowed to him. Reporters and elected officials were charmed and impressed or afraid or annoyed by him, but most felt they had to deal with him. He wore very nice suits, ate at fine restaurants, he had lots of money of his own, but in 5 months of illumination provided by federal prosecutors, it was Vince Fumo's obsession with his own manner of living and his obsession with your money, other people's money, that now make a mockery of his Mensa moniker and stand to make him spend his retirement years in prison instead of on the beach. Here now are U.S. Attorney Laurie Maggott, Assistant U.S. Attorney Robert Zosmer, and Assistant U.S. Attorney John Pease. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you taking the time. I know you're just a part of a large prosecution team, an investigative team, but you're key players in that. When did you know that you had him, that he was likely to go to prison?
We thought it on the day we indicted him. We don't indict anybody unless we're sure in our own minds that that person is guilty and that a jury would convict. I will say, though, that once Vince Fumo took the stand and I saw Prosecutor John Pease cross-examining him, and I saw, really, we felt the defense kind of coming apart. We felt even more strongly that the jury was going to agree with us.
I want to talk about that cross-examination and him being on the stand in a moment. I want to talk a little bit more about your preparation for the case, though. Vince Fumo says he treated the way he lived life and the way he did business as a family, his political operation as a family. You went after his family as part of your prosecution. You used his family.
Right. We had challenges. These people were very, very loyal to him, the people who worked in the Fumo office. And these were people we needed as our witnesses. Many of them asked for immunity, and we had to make tough decisions as to who to immunize in order to get their testimony, and then put them in the grand jury, get their testimony under oath, and know that we had testimony that we could rely on at trial. It was not an easy process, but it came together.
Christian Marone, his son-in-law, how important was he? Was he going into the trial your chief witness?
I wouldn't say he was our chief witness. I would say he was important to us in understanding that we had things right, that we had an understanding of the way the office operated and the way that he used his employees to perform his personal service. Christian Marone was an important witness for us, but the defense made him, I think, more important than he really was. And through their cross-examination of him, which lasted for days, I think it brought to life something that we didn't expect from the defense in terms of his being more important than we really saw him to be.
You have to make trade-offs when you decide who to give immunity to. You could theoretically prosecute these people and maybe convict them, maybe not. Obviously, with the Fumo conviction, you feel you made the right choice, but do you think there's anything wrong in letting some of these other people skate?
I wouldn't really call it skating. I mean, we do make difficult decisions about who to immunize, but when you have someone who is a public servant and an elected official, it's more important that you direct their attention at that person who is personally profiting from what's going on than from the people who owe their jobs to him.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could add also, there are also people we prosecuted in addition to Mr. Fumo. There was his key aide, Ruth Arnao, who we decided to prosecute. She went to trial. So the decision that you make is, who are you going to immunize? Who has gone so far that we think it's appropriate to prosecute them? Howard Kane was prosecuted, who was a key aide to the senator. 2 of his computer technicians who destroyed so much evidence in advance of trial. Lutchko and Eister destroyed evidence in advance of trial.
How important were they in this case? If you didn't have them cooperating, how would it be?
It wasn't essential. Mark Eister testified at trial. He was a very helpful, very remorseful witness. He's a young man who knows that he made a serious mistake here. But the forensic evidence was really overwhelming. We had a terrific FBI forensic examiner, Justin Price, who went through these dozens and dozens of computers and really showed electronically how the deletions were made. So it was a very strong case from a number of directions.
John Pease, you cross-examined Vince Fumo. Take a listen to this if you can. This is Vince Fumo on the stand, and you were asking him about personal items that had been sent to him at taxpayers' expense. Play that, please.
Cologne, various medications, and Comcast Metrofone.
Yes.
Why are they shipping you those things and having the Senate pay for it?
I guess because I wanted them and they shipped them.
John Pease, when you heard his response, what went through your mind?
Well, that was his true thought about this. He saw his staff as an opportunity for him to benefit personally, and the fact that the Senate was paying for the shipment of personal items was one of 1,000 examples of his taking advantage of his position.
But do you think he thought that he was benefiting personally, or he thought this was just the way it should be?
It is the way he thought it should be. He thought that he was entitled to this. The case was about a sense of entitlement, a profound sense of entitlement, where he just simply lost his way and never thought of this as taxpayer money.
When you heard him say, in response to one question about what his responsibilities were, he basically said, all I really have to do is vote. Mm-hmm. Did you glance at the jury at all?
I did.
And what were you looking for, and what did you see?
I was stunned, and the look in their eyes was also one of being stunned. That was not.
Describe that. When you, what did you see some of them do? Did they physically recoil or wide-eyed?
They sat back in their chairs, and their eyes opened widely. And you just knew at that moment that he regretted giving that answer, but he couldn't take it back. It's not an answer that I expected, but it's certainly one that did not help him.
Well, there were a number of answers that he gave during his examination. I can say that knowing that I was going to do the closing argument, I wasn't looking at the jury. I was furiously typing on my laptop to keep up with the statements he was making, like comparing what he was doing to spitting on the sidewalk and things like that. It was just remarkable statements, admitting a tremendous amount of wrongdoing and really setting up the closing argument.
Did he really get a jury of his peers? The Eastern District to the Federal District is a very wide one. You have diverse people, geographically diverse. If you had had his peers as defined as being members of only the 1st Senatorial District, would you have gotten the same result?
I believe we would. I mean, the evidence was so overwhelming here that I think any reasonable jury would have convicted. He certainly did have a jury of his peers. You don't get to have a jury that are just people that have some particular interest or bias in you. I mean, he had a...
The makeup of the jury overwhelmingly was female. Did that help you? I mean, there are people, as you know, who make a living going around helping people select juries. Were you, when you got that jury, did you say, guys are more likely to forgive corruption, therefore we've got a better shot?
I didn't think that, but I'll let the guys.
We didn't think that. And that was not really a jury of our making, because in any federal criminal case, the defense gets more strikes than the prosecution. I think in this case, they had the right to strike 13 people from the pool, and we could strike 6. So it really works out that it's a jury of their choice.
All right, more on this, more on the team that nailed a corrupt state senator in a moment on Live at Issue.
You're watching NBC 10 Live at Issue.
Green. It's not a fad, it's forever. Your world is calling for you to save it. Use reusable fabric bags, a reusable water bottle. Take your name off unwanted mailing lists. Prove how much you care. Does green